This is a time to remember those we love who gave us so much, to remember all who served, to remember all who were injured or died in service to their country, to remember all who were MIAs, all who were POWs, all whose presence we feel here, whose gifts to us are immeasurable, beyond time. We come to this place to dedicate a chair of honor to them, knowing that their spirit remains and that the sacrifices they made will never be forgotten.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good evening. It's an honor for me to welcome you to Cedar Crest on this Veterans Day. We gather together while remembering those who have served to dedicate this chair of honor, remembering our country's veterans who have been prisoners of war or are missing in action. As we begin, I would like to take a moment to recognize our brave service members in attendance and enrolled at Cedar Crest College today. Veterans, active duty members, guardsmen and guardswomen, and reservists of all branches. For those who have served or are serving, if you would please stand and wish to be recognized, please do so now. Please join me in congratulating them, thanking them for their service. Thank you all. The promise of higher education that Cedar Crest College provides is possible only through your service. For that service, our grateful college and country thank you. Those who volunteer in each branch of our armed services commit themselves to an act of faith, a faith in America and its people. This faith calls them to action in times and places often not of their choosing. It's a faith that can put them into harm's way at any moment, a risk they know and accept so that others will be kept safe. Such faith is an act of selflessness and service that forms the bedrock of our democracy. All service brings with it sacrifice. During the Persian Gulf War, a Cedar Crest student named Donna Kistner joined more than 40,000 other women in this country's largest deployment of service women to a combat zone. While stationed in Saudi Arabia, 35 miles from the occupied Kuwaiti border, Kistner, an Army reservist, endured the extreme temperatures of the desert's nighttime cold and its blazing daytime heat. She helped process and repatriate the more than 22,000 prisoners that came through her camp. Kistner returned home safe to resume her studies here at Cedar Crest. When she did, however, she found that while she was away, the routines of college life had gone on without her. Everything is fine, she told the crusty ad, except my friends are gone. I really wish I would have been able to graduate with them. But not all service members return home safely. Today, we gather in this Hall of Peace to affirm our commitment to those lost or captured for the sake of our freedom. To date, more than 81,000 Americans remain unaccounted for in conflicts since World War II. This lone empty chair will remind us of our duty to them. The chair of honor that we dedicate today will remain vacant as a reminder to each of our students, faculty, and staff who walk through this hall that our freedom of thought and education does not come without a price. I want to give personal thanks to Irene Wenzel and Nancy Wonderly in our School of Adult and Graduate Education who helped organize today's ceremony. Irene has represented Cedar Crest College in the Lehigh Valley Military Affairs Council's A's for Vets program for a number of years. It's through her commitment and the commitment of our other staff members, such as Gwen Fadler in the Registrar's Office, that Cedar Crest is able to provide access to a college education for our veterans and service members when they need us. I would also like to thank our representative and volunteer from the American Legion Post 217 for being here today, and also for Rolling Thunder, who began this tradition of the Chair of Honor to ensure that we Americans maintain the enduring obligation to our servicemen and women so that no matter what happens, they are returned home. With that, let me please introduce our three speakers for today. Cedar Crest College trustee and former chair of the board, David Keller, Rear Admiral, retired of the United States Navy. Cedar Crest alumna of the class of 2014, Catherine McQueen of the United States Army, and current Cedar Crest student, Dominique Slack of the United States Air Force.
As a 30-year Navy veteran, a Vietnam War veteran, and one of two military veterans on the Cedar Crest Board of Trustees, I am deeply, deeply honored to participate in this ceremony today. And it is more than fitting, extremely fitting, that this solemn POW MIA chair dedication ceremony falls on Veterans Day, a special day each year which we as a nation set aside each year to pause, reflect, and pay immense tribute to the more than 20 million veterans still living today who have valiantly and bravely served to defend our country's freedoms, as well as all those veterans who paid the ultimate sacrifice and who died defending those freedoms. There is a plaque at the Korean War Memorial down in Washington, D.C. And on that plaque it reads, "Freedom is not free." As we all know, the many freedoms that we have are only through the hard-earned battle victories and the tremendous sacrifices that our military men and women have endured over our country's relatively short 243-year history. On this Veterans Day, as we remember the members of our armed forces who have sacrificed everything in defense of the independence and the freedoms that we all hold so dear, we also need to remember those heroes who never returned home. As Provost Wilson mentioned, as of November 1st of this year, 81,966 servicemen and women who were either POWs or listed as missing in action are still unaccounted for. 72,641 from World War II, 7,606 from the Korean War, 1,587 from the Vietnam War, 126 from the Cold War, and 6 from our nation's current 15-plus year war on terror. Someone once said that remembrance is the most important and essential quality of loyalty. This chair of honor that we are dedicating here today, and which sits empty, serves foremost as a memorial and as a tribute to those courageous military men and women who have been declared missing in action or were prisoners of war. Secondly, it will serve to remind us of the gravity of our country's decisions when we send our sons and daughters to war, and of our country's enduring obligation to these brave individuals' families who all too often suffer alone, to ensure these families ultimately receive final closure. And lastly, this chair of honor, which will remain perpetually empty, will serve the college as our enduring tribute to all Americans who have never returned. It will serve to ensure we will never forget, and it will continually remind us that even though some of our military members cannot be with us, there is, and there always will be, a space for them at Cedar Crest. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank, I almost called you Dr. Bob, Dr. Wilson, Admiral Keller, Irene, guests, and all the students that are here for having me here today. I was asked to speak about my experiences as a veteran at Cedar Crest, and I will, I promise. But first, I want to talk about something else. Recent data suggests that 20 of our warfighters commit suicide every day. That number's down from 22, but largely because of better data collection. Civilians, check your veterans. Veterans, check your battle buddies. Sorry. If you are or know a veteran in crisis, please have them call the Veteran Crisis Line. That's 800-273-8255. I deployed in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom to Kirkuk, Iraq. We lived with the Air Force, so we had cool things like air conditioning in the Super Bowl. Because when you're just a soldier, there's just a lot of dirt. We deployed with 4,000 soldiers. 162 of them were women. In those 13 months, we accounted for all 4,000 of our soldiers. They all came home. 12 of them rode in the belly of the aircraft, but all of them came home. Not all veterans get to say that. Thank you. I like to say that the Army gave me the fortitude to succeed in war, and Cedar Crest gave me the fortitude to succeed at peace. One of my first classes here was peace studies with Maynard. And I learned how to be a civilian again there. And I have never felt anything but treasured as a veteran at this school, and this chair of honor, and the environment that surrounds it is evidence of that. And thank you to Cedar Crest, and thank you to all the staff and students for remembering my fallen battle buddies and those of us who didn't come home. Thank you.
I'll say good evening again, everybody. I'm Dominique. I'm currently a student. I'll be graduating in 2021 with my bachelor's in social work here at Cedar Crest. And what I chose to talk about this evening is my journey starting college and where I am today. My college career began in 2013, 1 year after graduating high school. I was a part-time student working 2 full-time jobs to save up to attend an out-of-state university. After completing 1 year at that university, I didn't have any money to continue attending. It was at that point I began to look into joining the Air Force. After a year later, I finally made that commitment. I joined the Air Force in 2016. After sustaining significant injuries while in training, I was medically retired a year and a half later. With the experiences I gained from the military, I wanted to continue to serve my community by becoming a social worker. I knew that my first step would be completing my 2-year degree. I successfully completed my associate's degree at LTRI-C with the help of Leslie Bartholomew, Diane Stanis, Kristen Linhart, Iris Isbansky, and Jenny Pakanowski. When first looking into attending Cedar Crest, the individuals who impacted my decision to come here include Irene Wenzel, Nancy Wonderly, Susan Barnes, and Maynard Cressman. Without meeting these individuals, I would have dropped out of school and given up. Even with experience being a full-time college student in my past, my life is different now. I do not process things in the same way. I need more help. And I found out that I wasn't the only veteran who did. Every person's situation is unique, but we all have similar accommodations that we need to help us succeed. The most significant and most appreciated services provided to veteran and military students at previous colleges that I attended was a place on campus for ourselves to call home. and also a student organization to become involved with. A place where we can gather together, do our work in a secluded space, a place that was safe, a place that we could truly be ourselves. Having a student organization to help show other students that we are unique, but that we are also the same, college students. I have made it my mission to advocate for my fellow veteran students and military students to have a safe, secure space on campus at Cedar Crest and start up a student veteran organization. If you are, or if you know of any student veterans or military members, I do have flyers placed on the tables in the back. You can take one if you like, or take a picture, send it to people. And if you have any questions for me about me starting this, I'll be available afterwards and you can come and talk to me. Thank you.
Could I ask everyone to rise for the flanking tax?
This chair remains empty, but its presence is full. It contains memories with strong messages, connecting us with what has been, making us fully human, and giving us hope. Let us remember them, lifting up their memories in silence. Amen. Thank you for coming. I hope you will all stay for the reception that follows right here.